sure you want the rest of it?
Dirty Harry Minute. Dirty Harry Minute. Dirty Harry Minute Podcast. Dirty Harry Minute Podcast.
Every penny's worth.
Welcome back to Dirty Harry Minute, the only podcast in the world to review every minute of the 1971 Warner Brothers classic Dirty Harry, starring Clint Eastwood. I'm one of your hosts, John, and as ever I'm joined with fellow co-host Tim.
Hi.
And where's Trent, Tim?
He's gone missing.
I
don't know, he said he was going to be on his couch. Sick, apparently.
Sick in summer, sometime blues. But that doesn't matter because we're joined today with two wonderful guests. Urvi.
Hi, how you going?
Good, how are you? Thanks for coming.
Yeah, welcome.
And who's sitting next to you?
We've got Ben Pobjie here.
Good evening.
The magic of radio.
I'm going to assume people listen to podcasts in the evening.
Yeah, with bad, soothing jazz and a cognac like Clint does.
It's a boudoir experience for mine.
Well, thank you, you two. We're here to review minute 56. The minute begins with a shot of Harry and ends with our hero turning to face a cross. What did you think of this minute, Tim?
Very tense, dark.
Very dark.
And just a very brooding Clint Eastwood, I think.
Have you ever seen any better silhouettes or shadows in a movie than this?
I can't think of them.
Are you a silhouette connoisseur?
I didn't realise I was, but now that you mention it.
What do you think of this minute, Ben?
It's quite interesting. It is very tense and is very dark. It's an interesting minute in the career of Clint Eastwood, because I would say there are a lot more minutes in Clint Eastwood's career where he's the one holding the gun. It's quite it's a departure from type to have him being held at gunpoint, and he's quite helpless in this minute. He has to do what he said, and I love the look on his face. You can tell it's not just Dirty Harry, it's Clint himself really hates having to do what other people tell him to, and that comes through in the performance.
He's certainly breathing in a lot, isn't he, Tim?
Also, you can tell he hates the fact he's being made to face a cross, because you can sense Dirty Harry as an atheist.
And Urvi, what did you think about this minute?
Interesting. So on IMDb, I think in the trivia section, it says that they cast Scorpio to look like a church boy.
Yeah, choir boy.
Yeah, choir boy. Sorry. Yeah. So I think that was really good casting for the evil person part, because he looks sort of maniacal, but also I guess the allusion to Christ with looking at the cross and the silhouettes are very good.
Delicious.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Might be laying it on a bit too thick, though.
No, we welcome that on this podcast, Ben.
If you were, no, not me. The killer.
The killer.
The killer, as the credits have it, which is, it seems weird. It's like the killer. For a start, Dirty Harry is the killer as well. So let's be honest. There's more than one killer in this movie.
But one of them's got a badge.
But they call him Scorpio all the way through. Let's just call him Scorpio. Let's give him that respect. I think he's earned that, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well, who calls him the killer? IMDb.
Yeah, and the credits of the movie
the Actors
itself
Guild,
is killer. It's like if we put Scorpio, they were afraid the audience would suddenly forget the entire movie they'd just watched. It's like, who's Scorpio?
Yeah.
You know who he reminds me of, actually? He reminds me of, who's the actor? He's in The Warriors and Xanadu.
Not Gutenberg.
I can't remember his name.
Tim, you're our warrior scholar.
The leader of the Warriors.
Not the Sully guy. The Warriors.
No. The one who is being invited to come out and play. And also he's the star of Xanadu, the 70s greatest musical. Michael Beck. Yeah. He reminds me of Michael Beck. He's got that heartthrob look to him, which, as you say, is deliberate. He's a good guy. I mean, even now, I picture Harry's face and Scorpio's face, and you got to think maybe Scorpio was the good guy.
Yeah.
It's interesting. This minute, of course, is where Harry has come to deliver the ransom money.
Yeah.
And you got to say, was Scorpio ever really interested in the money?
Yeah, probably.
Or was he just trying to get Harry into position so he could?
Yeah, I don't think
him
he
up.
really cared, Tim, do you?
Yeah.
Although he did up the ransom amount, didn't he?
He did up the ransom, but then he gets the ransom and he says, "I'm going to let her die." Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry. Spoiler alert for a later minute. But
yeah, maybe it's just more for the thrill of it, and that's what Harry
mind you, his
gets
plan
as
would have
well.
been to get the money, wouldn't it? Because he thinks he's going to kill Harry.
Yeah.
We don't see Scorpio in this minute, do we? It's his POV.
Yes.
That's right.
But you see,
Harry
yeah,
looks fed up, doesn't he?
He does. He's breathing in.
I felt awful in that whole sequence of Harry running around the city because I put myself in his place and I would realise
it would be really
I wouldn't
hard.
make it to the first one.
Nor would I.
I would be half an hour late to the first phone call.
We were saying what would happen, Tim, if the Giorgio had got the bagman role. Mr. Linguini.
Well, Clint's he always seems to be puffing from the first minute where he's running. He's overly dressed as well. For
Yeah.
This,
Why didn't you put on like shorts and a tank top? You know you're going to be running.
My theory was that he had gym gear in the bag.
Oh, yeah.
What about you, John? What do you think of this minute?
I love it. I mean, this is probably the second best scene of the film after the Kezar Stadium torture scene. I just love it. And the park just has this eerie atmosphere. I think it's great.
This is a real park in San Francisco.
Yes, Mount Davidson Park.
That's a huge cross that he's putting his face up against. That's a big cross to be in a park.
Yeah.
That would intimidate me. I mean, do people just go and have picnics in this park? Because it's such a grim feeling to be picnicking under a giant concrete cross.
If you're John, you actually go there and recite lines from this film.
Have you done that, John?
I've been there,
Have
yeah.
you?
There's an interesting political history here. The city of San Francisco was forced to divest itself of it because of the separation of church and state in the 70s or some court case.
Yeah.
And so it was actually sold to a local Armenian organisation who technically private property. But
Oh, really?
and it's a memorial now, was been rememorialised to...
Anne-Marie Deacon.
I hope so. In addition to the Turkish massacre of the Armenians in 1915, I think is ostensibly what it's for.
I haven't seen that movie.
It did happen. I love it. Apparently the director, Don Siegel, insisted upon using this park. I can't find out how he knew about it, but he insisted that one of the terminal of the relay scene be here.
It's not like very central in San Francisco.
No. But it's got one of the best views of the whole city, really. Or at least a certain part of the city looking towards the bay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good for suspense. And I think, what do you make of the shadows in it?
Symbolically, I leave that to Ben. But
Why should leave it to me?
the shadows in life, baby, you know.
I'm not Robert Langdon here.
I thought I was the silhouette guy.
Yeah, let Tim do the silhouettes, the shadows, wreathed in shadow, much like my... No, is there moral ambiguity here? I mean...
Well, he's in the light and the other guy's in the
he's
shadow.
sort of half in light, half his face is in light, half is in... So symbolically, this shot is sort of saying Dirty Harry and Scorpio are the same person. And he's talking to himself.
And the shadow behind him also kind of echoes that.
Yeah.
Because he's double there.
Now, where is Scorpio at this time? What is he hiding? Is he just in some trees? What's he...
Yeah, he's just another dirty man in bushes.
Yeah, I think he's in the bushes. Yeah.
Clint would have loved all this darkness because apparently one of the things he learned from his tenure as a television actor was he hated overlighting. So as soon as he had his own company and
he's
was
made
out
it all
directing,
dark. Yeah.
darkness. Now apparently it was a cold spring day, Andy Robertson tells us, and if he was lurking in the bushes, he said he definitely remembered wearing long johns.
Okay.
Echoing the Mark Twain quote that said the coldest winter he ever had was a summer in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, Ben, what we do here is bad American accents.
He's... I don't know about the long johns. That takes away a bit of the mystique, doesn't it?
Clint wouldn't be wearing that shit.
Then again, Clint is wearing a three-piece suit, so...
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Neither of them are dressed for the job, frankly.
We have an IMDb intervention here, Ben, where we read out IMDb comments. Scorpio makes Harry toss his gun a good distance away onto concrete, which would cause noticeable damage to the revolver's blued finish. However, in the final scene, when Harry again delivers his famous speech, there is no visible damage to the weapon.
Hang on, how do we know it's the same gun at the end?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you might have a whole wardrobe.
You really
with
think someone like
44s.
Dirty Harry only has one Magnum 44? Come
I like
on,
to think
man.
so, because we've determined he's probably named.
Oh yeah, Eric Clapton only has one guitar.
Very good point.
Also, that is... IMDb just...
Why haven't they closed those? They've closed the message boards.
Yeah.
The goofs that people put in, honestly.
Well, he could have just got it fixed as well.
Yeah, maybe there's a couple of days to get it
Every
done.
morning he stops by the gun polisher. Obviously.
I mean, there's not a lot to say about this minute. Just full of silhouettes and shadows. Urvi.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you think You think Harry's going to survive?
What do we think about the subtext of the line? That's a big one.
Yeah, there are a lot of overt phallic
Do we think
overtones in
that
this.
Scorpio is being suggestive here? Or are we willing to give the benefit of the doubt to his upbringing and say, at a moment like this, Scorpio would know it's not the time for crude innuendo?
Does he? Wait, he just says that about the gun.
He says that about the gun. And look, and Harry has no comeback. He knows it's a big one. He said to the guy earlier, it's a big one. You know, he can't deny it's a big one. He can't argue. And that's what is burning him up inside. That's why he looks so frustrated. He can't argue with this guy. This guy is right. It is a big one.
So it's emasculating him having to throw it
Yeah,
away.
absolutely.
Yep, there we go. Some more analysis.
That is very good. It is emasculating him.
The way Scorpio says it sounds very comedic as well. Like
He's a funny guy. Look, I'd invite him to a party before I invited Harry.
maybe he just wants a reaction out of Harry.
Yeah, he seems confused.
He's very happy to have him there, isn't he? He's like, oh, God. I'm so glad you're here, Harry.
John, that might be or unless you're saving it for a later minute, a good time to talk about your interactions with Andy Robinson.
Oh, yes. I'm a new convert to this thing called Facebook or whatever. And for the sole purpose of contacting a lovely actor, Andy Robinson, who played Scorpio.
Oh, no way, really?
Trying to get him on. You guys are in one way you could say you are Andy Robinson's replacement, Ben Urvi. He was supposed to be on tonight.
Because surprisingly, his Facebook account's quite open. And it seems quite personalised. Like he's got photos of his family and...
Wow, is he still acting?
Yeah, I think so.
He teaches acting now, I think. For a long time he was running an acting program in the University of Southern
Those who can't
California.
do.
Wow.
It's so he's not intimidated by the billions of fans who must be constantly messaging him.
I think a godsend for him was when he played some character in Star Trek. Garrick, are you a big fan of?
I'm not a big fan. No.
You're not a Trekkie? But yeah, I started off just saying, you probably said all you want to say about this great movie, Andy. And he said, you're right, I have. But the information he did what's the word? The information he did impart was that he's correct. His recollection, this was 3 days shooting, Tim.
What, just this minute?
Just this Mount
Or the
Davidson
scene.
cross, yeah. That he wore long johns. And that this, I think, was one of the first scenes he'd shot when he came on board.
And that he was very proud of
That's a big one.
line.
That was
His
his
ad-lib.
favourite ad-lib.
Which line?
ad-libbed line.
That's a big one.
Oh, that's ad-libbed.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it? Cool.
Okay, so I'm giving no credit to the screenwriter for that. So that whole side of his personality is just invented on the spot by the actor. If they'd gotten someone else, like Michael Beck, it might have been completely different.
Well, maybe rather than Scorpio trying to get a reaction at Harry, it was Andy Robinson trying to get a reaction out of Clint Eastwood.
Yeah,
Imagine
maybe.
Clint like pistol whipping him after the cameras are off. Stick to the
deviated.
script.
Ben, you've worked freelance
No.
or at a
Oh, yes.
newspaper.
Yes.
Have you ever received any cryptograms or maniacal letters from any extortionists or...
Oh, well, depends how you define maniacal.
Well, someone who can do a tight five that's got a great sense of comic timing.
I've
like
received
Scorpio does.
I've never received anything from anyone as funny as Scorpio. I've never received demands. I've received demands for money, but not from fans. No, I have received quite a bit of mail from people who they're too old to go on IMDb. They don't know that IMDb exists, so instead they just write to people like me to correct them.
Oh.
Rather than nitpicking at movies on the web, just telling me things I've supposedly gotten wrong or stories about shows they watched in the 50s.
Is it kind of like rambling as well?
Yeah, just occasionally get actual letters, hard copy, handwritten letters, which are forwarded to me from the Age. They send them to the Age. They don't know my address. I'll give my address later in the podcast, but they want me to know. I think they usually want to scold me for something, like saying that one show's my favourite show of a particular genre, when they think it should be another one. But they also want to inform me about their whole life, really. You know, the first movie they ever watched.
Who are these people? Just
Oh, God knows.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Maybe
people.
lonely.
There are some nursing homes that give out stationery far too liberally, and these are the people who write to me. No, it's always nice to think someone has taken the time, and they are much nicer than, like, you know how on Facebook you have Messenger, and there's that thing about, like, you can click on the folder for messages from people you don't know that is just kept there, and you forget that it's there because you're just getting normal messages from people you do know. And occasionally you're like, oh yeah, I wonder if anyone, you know, any random people have messaged me, and you click on that, and then you
message
find out, oh,
requests.
okay, so 3 months someone told me that I better watch my back while I'm out walking. That's interesting.
I'm glad I reached out to you guys via more trustworthy Twitter and email.
Email, yeah.
Ben, did you ever have cause to review? There was a Clint Eastwood family reality show a few years ago. Do you remember that?
No. What? He wasn't in it, was he?
Like Richard Wilkins, you know, he's got like 10 kids to
Yeah.
7 women or whatever. There was some reality show about the younger brood of Eastwood. No,
Really? Did it have Scott Eastwood?
I really don't know much about it. Other than
Alison Eastwood, star of Clint's Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Wow, is that you like that?
That's a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that a few weeks ago. Actually, I was quite surprised. Very sensitive portrayal of transgender, or wouldn't you say that Lady Chablis character, which you wouldn't expect
Probably
from an
it's
Eastwood
been
movie.
a while, but I did like it.
Kevin Spacey has a lot of topical lines about blurring the truth, and it was just sex they won't understand, which watching today looks a bit dodgy.
Well, that's the trouble, isn't it? If you're an actor and you play all sorts of roles, and then it turns out that you're some sort of horrible habitual criminal, and then people go back and find, oh yeah, you did play a role where you played someone just like that. Yeah. That's why you should try to stick to one stereotypical part throughout your career and make sure it is completely different from your own dark secret.
Throw people off.
Well, Tim, that's pretty much all I've got to say about this minute. What would you glean from Scorpio that we haven't already discussed? He seems quite calm, cool and collected.
Likes to hide in bushes.
Yeah.
He does too. Come to think of it, he's kind of a creep.
We were talking last minute that he's probably been at Mount Davidson Cross all the time.
Yeah, just living there. He lives in a stadium, so yeah, he's probably used to it.
I actually found it in an earlier minute in this sequence. A bit that jarred was when he's on the phone at the beginning and he says, I'll be watching you. Not all the time, but you won't know. And it's like, you don't have to say that. Just say I'll be watching you. Don't give away the fact. I mean, don't just... It's a weird thing to say. Just say I'll be watching you. You can leave the rest as read. Say, oh, not all the time. Oh, not all the time? No, not all the time, but you won't know. Oh, good point. I won't
Thanks
know.
for clarifying.
But just so we're clear, not all the time. Yeah, not all the time. I have to confess, I can't be everywhere, Harry.
That reminds me of our English teacher, Tim, Mr. Stark. Remember, he goes, you don't need to say whether or not, because by definition, if you know whether, then you know contradiction is not the case. And ruin my love of language forever.
I made a much better point.
Hopefully you'll make some better points on the next minute, Urvi.
Yeah,
You
okay.
looking
Let's move
forward?
on.
All right, well, Tim, you'll join us next time?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm obliged to.
Right. I mean, hopefully you'll try and get Trent.
I'll try my best.
Well, thanks, Ben, Urvi. We'll catch you next time on
Dirty
Harry
Minute.
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 Awesome.
Minute.